right, so welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today, well, we're going to be looking at some Japanese martial arts.
Okay.
But specifically, Gyokko Ryu.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, it's, we've done some deep dives into other martial arts, and a lot of them seem to be very focused on,
Right.
Competition and sort of like tournament-style fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But Gyokko Ryu is a little bit different. It's more about this deep knowledge of combat.
Yeah, it's a more holistic approach, I think, to the martial arts.
And this philosophy of restraint,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting.
Yes.
So we have some excerpts here about a specific art within Gyokko Ryu called kosshijutsu,
Okay.
and then also just some writings on Gyokko Ryu in general.
Right.
So yeah, imagine training in a martial art where the goal isn't just winning,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really about understanding the weight of conflict.
Yeah, it's not about ego or anything like that. It's really about self-defense and being prepared for a real-life situation.
Yeah, and so I think that's a good place to start.
Okay.
Let's sort of unpack this idea of kosshijutsu.
All right.
Our sources describe it as being very weapon-focused,
Right.
but it's practiced within this, sort of larger system of bujutsu.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about swordsmanship or something like that. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, you see, with kosshijutsu practitioners, they train with all weapons, swords,
Right.
staffs, chains,
Wow.
throwing stars, you name it.
So it's about being prepared for anything.
Exactly. It's about adaptability, being ready for any situation that might arise.
So it's like this serious commitment to versatility.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. And speaking of versatility, our sources mention that, training starts with these preset forms.
Right.
Called yakusoku kata.
Yes.
Is that where you build this adaptability?
That's the foundation. You learn these precise movements, these techniques.
Right.
It's almost like a language of combat.
Interesting.
And then you advance to what's called shinken gata, which are more free-form applications of these principles.
So it's like you learn the rules and then you learn how to break them.
You could say that, yes.
Yeah. It's like you're graduating from practicing scales to, playing jazz.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like having this toolbox of techniques and you're constantly refining and adapting them
Yes.
precisely to different situations.
And that's the key, being able to respond appropriately in any given scenario.
Yeah. But kosshijutsu is just one part of this larger system, Gyokko Ryu.
Yes.
What else is in this tradition?
Well, Gyokko Ryu encompasses a wide range of combat skills.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Kenpo, which is unarmed combat.
Okay.
Bujutsu, which focuses on staff fighting.
All right.
Then things get pretty interesting with Kusarigama,
Ooh.
which is a chain and sickle weapon.
Wow.
You've also got Sojutsu for spear techniques, Nejinata Jutsu, which uses a glaive, and even Shuriken Jutsu, which is all about throwing weapons.
So this is like a fully comprehensive system here.
It is, and believe it or not, some lineages even incorporate aspects of ninjutsu.
Wait, ninjutsu, like the stealth and espionage stuff.
That's right.
Wow. So I'm picturing, those classic black-clad figures disappearing in the night.
Exactly. It's all part of the tradition.
So someone training in Gyokko Ryu is basically aiming to become this, like, all-around, multifaceted warrior.
It's about developing a wide range of skills so you can adapt to any situation, any opponent.
And that kind of speaks to the seriousness with which Gyokko Ryu approaches combat.
Yes.
One of our sources quotes Ishizuka Sensei, a master of this tradition.
Right.
And he emphasizes that unlike sports, real fights are unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
There are no rules.
Yeah.
There's no referee.
It's a life or death situation, potentially.
It's a very sobering thought.
It is.
And it really shifts your whole perspective on training.
Absolutely.
It's not about winning a trophy. It's about survival, protecting yourself and others.
Exactly. And that brings us to what might be the most profound aspect of Gyokko Ryu, the warrior's philosophy.
Okay.
Ishizuka Sensei goes on to say, win without drawing your sword, but if you draw, do not cut.
Wow.
Just stay patient in your endurance and keep in mind the significance of taking a life.
That's powerful stuff.
It is.
He's talking about restraint, avoiding unnecessary conflict and having this deep respect for life.
Yeah.
These aren't just fighting skills.
Right.
These are life lessons.
Absolutely. And you see these principles reflected in other martial arts traditions as well, like the samurai code of Bushido, which emphasizes honor, loyalty, and self-sacrifice, or even the concept of Wu Wei in Taoism, which translates to effortless action going with the flow rather than forcing things.
So this idea of restraint and respect for life.
Yes.
How might someone apply that beyond martial arts?
That's a good question.
In their everyday life, what would that look like?
Well, I think it could mean choosing to de-escalate a tense situation.
To listening instead of reacting impulsively or simply being mindful of the impact of our words and actions on others. Imagine the difference those principles could make in our daily interactions.
It's almost as if the true mastery lies in understanding the weight of that power, not just wielding it.
Very well said.
So we've seen the complexity of kosshijutsu, the range of skills in the Gyokko Ryu system, and the philosophy that underpins it all.
It's quite a tradition.
It is. And you know, Ishizuka Sensei talks about avoiding drawing your sword unless absolutely necessary.
Right.
But in today's world, our swords might not be literal weapons.
That's true.
They could be our words, our actions, even our online presence.
It's a different kind of battlefield.
It is. So what are those situations where we should choose restraint? And how can we cultivate that discipline in our own lives?
It's something to think about for sure.
That's something to consider as we finish this deep dive.
Great discussion.
Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Hope you learned something.
I always do. All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.